Hi, I'm Jane Seymour, and I want to introduce you to 4 of my friends. Meet Kurt. And Soshi. How you doing, Anthony? Hi, Rachel. Do you know what they all have in common? They've all been abused by people they knew and trusted. To be abused means to be hurt, especially by someone who's supposed to care about you. Well, my 4 friends want to help stop child abuse. They're here to break the silence about it.
Break the silence!
Child abuse can happen to any kid, and no 2 abuse cases are exactly alike. But you're going to meet 4 brave children who are sharing their stories to help you, your friends, and your families learn how to stop and prevent abuse. Physical abuse can be really dangerous to children. It's when grown-ups get angry, lose control, and beat up on their kids. 12-year-old Kurt had been physically abused by his father for as long as he could remember. He was afraid if he told someone, his dad would get into trouble. But Kurt found out there were people out there who could help his whole family.
I was abused, and I don't think it should happen to other kids. I'm doing the show because I think that all kids should be able to speak out and tell people if they're being abused. When my sister and I were little, my dad used to beat up on us all the time. Sometimes he'd hit us to punish us, like when we do something wrong, but other times he'd hit us for almost no reason. It was like we couldn't do anything right. I was really confused. My earliest memory of being hit was around 4 or 5. After my dad went to the bar and started drinking beer, he'd be different. He'd get mad if you said anything to him, and that's normally when he hit us. It kind of felt like he just walked in and then started looking for stuff to start like a fight or start arguing with us. One day he came home from work and there was a salt shaker spilled on the table. He wanted to know who did it, and I told him that we didn't know. He started hitting us with a belt, and it wasn't like normal spanking or anything. Sometimes he'd leave marks, like bruises or a black eye. Once he even gave me a bloody nose. I remember that I was beat like 3 or 4 times a week.
You gonna catch a fish? Huh? You gonna catch a fish? No.
I was hoping that someone would just come in and tell my dad that he shouldn't be hitting us or anything, and no one ever said anything about it. The abuse finally stopped when my sister told some of her friends what had been happening.
Okay, you go like this.
Her friends told a grown-up who they could trust, who called the child abuse hotline.
And then you toss it out. And try it.
The people who protect children made my parents go to court, and the judge said that Ruthie and I wouldn't be safe at home anymore.
Very good.
They said that I had to leave that night, so I had to go home and stuff everything in garbage bags and then go to the foster parents. Foster parents are the people you live with for a while until your own family gets straightened out. While we were in the foster home, my mom and dad were working real hard to get us to come back home. My dad had to go through classes to help him stop drinking. Then both my parents had to go through classes to show them the right way to do things without hitting or abusing us anymore. I was in a foster home for 3 years, and then the judge said my sister and I could go home. There were a lot of people who helped our family get back together. This is Katie. She's a family therapist, and she comes to our house once a week.
Some parents don't know how to teach their children what they want them to learn without hitting. Kurt's mother and father felt that when they were angry and wanted to teach their children something, that was the way it was done. That's the only way they knew. Hi. Do you find that you approach things differently than you did in the past when it comes to correcting the kids?
Well, yeah. Before we beat them, and now we send them to their room and stuff.
Any kid's gonna rather be sent to their room than hit or something, but you know, it makes you have more respect for your parents.
I used to think that I must have been a really bad kid or really terrible because they were hitting me. And
some of the things that we worked with Kurt's family on was talking to one another, listening to one another, how to teach in such a way that the children got the message without being hit.
We're learning to talk, learning to listen, which I usually interrupt in the kids before they get done talking, but we're learning to talk it out.
This family has come a long way. They've worked very hard, and it's taken a long time, and there's still work to be done, but there's a lot of hope for them.
Now watch, Mark, watch.
Almost got him.
my dad has changed because he doesn't drink anymore and he doesn't hit us anymore. He'll do things with us and play ball and stuff like that with us. I'm proud of my parents because they worked this whole thing out and they could have just said they didn't want to and just left. I'm glad that they love me that much and that they didn't just give up. I think that's how all parents should be.
There's another kind of abuse, and it's called sexual abuse. That's when someone bigger or older than you touches private parts of your body or makes you touch theirs in ways that make you feel bad. Usually, they'll tell you to keep this touching a secret. Sochi's sexual abuse started when she was only 7 years old, and her abuser was her stepfather. But a sexual abuser could be anybody.
Sexual abuse is being hurt by somebody that you don't want to be hurt by, or being touched in private places. Those places are called private parts, and private parts are parts of your body that are covered up by bathing suits and your underwear. My abuse happened a long time ago when I was 7 and 8. Now I'm 10 years old. After school, I love to go to my dad's restaurant and pretend I'm a waitress there. Hi, can I take your order?
Hi, yes, thank you. I'd like to know, could I have a fish?
Hi, Andrea.
Hi, Sochi.
Thanks. So what's up? I live with my stepmom, Elvira, my sister, Andrea, who's 2 years old, and my dad, Andres. Hi, Daddy.
Hi.
When my dad and my real mom got divorced, I saw my dad every other weekend, and I lived with my real mom and my stepdad. I stopped living with them after my stepdad sexually abused me.
Sochi then used to like her stepfather a lot because she said that he used to threaten her or warn her about beating her up if she wasn't going to do what the mother or him was telling her to do.
The way my abuse happened was every morning after my mom would go to work, Jesse, my stepdad, would come and sleep on the bottom bunk, and he'd call me to the side of the bed, and then he started to touch me in private parts. I felt like this weird feeling in me because I knew something was wrong, but I didn't know what. I didn't know what was happening then. After the abuse, I felt weird because he was spoiling me. Like, he'd buy me donuts in the morning. He would buy me a piano for my birthday, and I liked what he was giving me, but I didn't like the abuse that he was giving me.
When Sochi used to come and visit us, she was different, and I noticed that her grades were kind of low. She was more on the quiet side, more sad, kind of angry sometimes. And right before she was ready to go back to her mother, she started getting kind of afraid or nervous or finding excuses to stay.
I felt like I had to tell someone, and one day I told my mom when she's vacuuming, and I told her that my stepdad, Jesse, was touching me in private places. She seemed casual, like nothing happened. She just kept on vacuuming. I would tell parents who don't believe their kids or don't listen to them that they should, because they're counting on you to do something about it. My abuse went on for 2 years every morning. It made me feel like lonely and different and just really sad. One day my dad was gonna hug me and I just backed away.
And I asked her, what's happening? What's going on with you? And she kind of broke into tears and shaking, and she told me that the stepfather did something to her. I'd called the hotline for child abuse. We went to the social worker, and so she explained her what happened.
They took my stepfather away so he couldn't hurt me anymore and to teach him not to abuse other kids. But my real mom got mad and she didn't believe me, and she said it didn't really happen, and she believed my stepfather. I felt bad because my mom didn't believe me, my real mom. When I first went to therapy, I thought, how could talking help? Because talking is just talking. But then I learned that it helps you to get stuff out of your system.
Can you show me how a girl might feel if she were sexually abused, or a boy might feel if he were sexually abused?
Nancy is my therapist, and a therapist is somebody who listens to you and talks to you and helps you understand things.
Can you tell me why it might be bad to be sexually abused?
I got hurt, and you don't trust people. I don't trust people the way I did before. The best thing I've learned in therapy is that it's not my fault what happened. It's not my fault. It's Jesse's fault, and it's not mine.
I want kids to know that they can tell their parents if they're being sexually abused, because we're here to protect them and to believe them. But if the parents don't believe them, they can tell any adult.
Their teacher will help, or if they see a policeman somewhere, they should tell them, or any grown-up that is good and that can help them. Right now I'm happy about my family because they're nice and they're funny and I like to be with them. It's really nice to know that somebody will believe you. I feel better about myself and I don't feel like it's my fault anymore. And I feel that, I know that I'll never let anybody do that to me again.
Sexual abuse doesn't just happen to girls. It happens to boys, too. Anthony's abuse began when he was only 4 years old.
Anthony will come up. He's going to show you. He's going to palm heel. You want to do palm and front kick? And he's going to yell.
I was sexually abused when I was a little boy by someone who I really trusted. It started when I was about 4 years old.
No! Get away! Leave me alone! Come on! Stay away!
I had a lot of angry feelings inside of me that I wanted to get out. I think if you don't get those angry feelings out, they're going to make you feel worse and worse and worse. The reason why I'm speaking out about child abuse is for other kids, so that to make them not as scared as I was, and for them to tell people, and for those people to do something about it. I live with my mom, Peggy, and my stepdad, Joey, and my new baby sister. Joey's like my real dad because he raised me, And ever since I was little, he was always by my side.
Anthony's father had passed away when he was about 1.5 years old, and I had to start working again. I was a hairdresser, and I freelanced doing it in the house. There was one customer that would come with her 20-year-old son, and while I worked, the 20-year-old son would keep my son company, and they would play.
The tricks that my abuser used was that he like said that let's go inside my room and play a game, and he pretended he was my friend. He abused me, and he touched my privates, and he did things that weren't supposed to be done. That's bad because your body is your body, and nobody else has the right to touch it.
The man who hurt Anthony, he used the good guy approach. Like, Anthony, you're my friend. It's okay that we do this. Nothing's gonna happen to you.
Anthony was showing many signs that something was wrong. One was bedwetting, nightmares, coming into our bedroom, wanting to stay with us, and then problems going to the bathroom.
He had all the signs of an abused child, and we didn't know.
My abuse went on for a couple of years. My school grades went down. I didn't want to go outside that much no more, and I didn't want to go nowhere without my parents.
But when I discovered Anthony and the abuser in his room, I opened up the door, found the abuser with him picking his pants up, and Anthony was behind the door.
I was scared. I didn't know what was going to happen. And everything, after my mother called my father, everything got so confusing. I told my dad, and my dad believed me because he trusted me. He called the police, and the police came. They took the guy away, and they brought me to the hospital to check if anything had went wrong with my body. But the doctor said I was all right. I was okay. Talking to the doctors wasn't that scary because they helped me. If I didn't like explain it right, they would ask me again, and they listened to me and they understood. I went to court to put him away in jail and to show the jury and the lawyers what he had done to me. The judge was nice. He wore a black gown and he wore glasses and he was old. They gave me stuffed dolls to show what he had done to me, and I had to answer questions that the lawyers gave me to answer. The judge asked me to point the abuser out and if he was in his courtroom, and I did. The outcome was that the abuser went to jail for a long time and is still serving in jail. I think in jail he could get help so he'll never hurt another kid again. The thing that makes me angriest about what happened to me is that I didn't speak up while it was happening. The reason why I didn't speak up is because I was scared. My parents sent me to the Greenwich House Children's Safety Project. I've been going there for 7 years, and it's helped me deal with my feelings.
How do you know you're angry by how your body feels? Where do you feel it?
Flora is my project instructor, and she's also my therapist.
When kids fight?
Flora teaches us about anger to get it out of your system.
Some people turn really red.
Yeah, their faces get really red. Anything else that you can think of? Some people cry when they're angry, or some people yell.
It feels good to let it out because if you're holding something in and it's bothering you, and then when you let it out, you're like relieved that you told somebody. Well, we also have activities like the obstacle course, where we learn to run away from somebody, or to block, or to say no and go for help.
The Greenwich House has been great with Anthony. They helped him from day one, and they're still helping us out. Matter of fact, now they made him a junior counselor. He's doing so good. And he's telling other kids, if people do this to you, don't let them. Tell your parents. Let people know what's going on. Today, Anthony's 12 years old. He's a regular, normal 12-year-old boy. He's A's and B's in school. He's doing fine.
Wait. I would recommend to many parents out there that watch for any type of a sign that a child is trying to tell you something, no matter what it could be. Listen to them. Just listen to your child.
I don't think I'll ever forget it because it happened to me, and it's my life. It's important to break the silence about child abuse so that you can get the abuser away from you and he'll never hurt you again.
Sometimes parents or guardians don't give kids the things they need to grow up safe and healthy. When that happens, it's called neglect. Rachel is 16, and it happened to her.
Kids can tell if they're being neglected, if they're not getting enough food, if they don't have clean clothes, if they don't get lots of attention, if they mainly take care of themselves around the house and depend on themselves. When I was growing up, I don't really remember anybody taking care of me like I should have been taken care of at that age. When I was about 3 or 4, my mom would leave and she would go for a couple of hours to a couple of days sometimes. She would leave a bowl of peaches on the table for me to eat, and that was all I had. I always sat at the table looking out the window or looking at the peaches, wondering when my mom would get home. When my mother left, I was about 3 or 4. She abandoned me, and they let me stay with my grandmother. When I lived with my grandmother, she was really sick, and sometimes she drank a lot. I was being neglected when I had to do things that were not usual for my age.
I was only 4, and I was cooking for her and helping her bathe and going to the store for her. I was too young to do those things alone.
And it's like the stress just built up on the inside, and you could feel it. It was like right here. And a lot of times when I thought about something or when I went to sleep thinking about something, I wake up and my chest would be hurting. When my grandmother died, I was passed from relative to relative. I always felt like I was an outsider. I never felt like I really fit in. When I was 14, I went to my last aunt's house. And I looked out the window one day and I said, well, God, how long am I gonna be here? Because I know I'm not gonna be here really long. One day, we had an argument and she said, get your stuff and get out. I had tried staying with friends, but there was nowhere that I could really be safe. And so I told my guidance counselor, and he called social services. Later on, I met Wanda, who's my social worker.
We're going to talk about where you want to go.
A social worker is someone who helps children figure out what to do when their families can't do it. Sometimes they help kids find a safe place to live.
All right. You like jelly beans? Oh, okay. I'll give you some jelly beans. When Rachel first came down, she was very scared to go in a foster home. She felt that she really didn't trust adults, and she wanted to make sure that she wouldn't be kicked out of another place. So we put her in Centerville Group Home. When I first got out of the car to go to the group home, I was really afraid because I didn't know what to expect. It turned out to be a very good place for me. It was the first real family I ever had. When you first walk in the door of the group home, there are about anywhere from 10 to 12 kids running around screaming. You have 5 different kinds of music playing. A group home is a place where children go, where there's going to be at least 10 to 12 other children there. And there are lots of adults who will help the children to understand their problems.
I had to get some defense.
I met Karen. She was my therapist. And she talked to me about a lot of things that were on my mind and a lot of things that I had been through.
We've been through a lot. Yeah, we have.
I learned that I didn't always have to be the strong one, and I didn't always have to take care of everything. And I could wind down and be a kid. I could relax and play sometimes. I stayed at the group home for a year and a half, but I felt like I was ready for a family now. I wanted to find out what a real family does, a normal family does. When I first came into my foster mother's home, I was afraid. I was pretty much scared that the same thing would happen to me that happened throughout my family. When I got here, that wasn't what happened. I pretty much fit right in. She loved me just like she loved everybody else. I would tell kids who've been abused to not give up, to realize that people are out there to help you, and to look for those people and to let those people help you. My mother left me, but now I have 3 moms. I have Karen, who's my therapist, I have Wanda, who's my social worker, and I have Dee Dee, who's my foster mom. When I need somebody, they're always there, all 3 of them. It feels really good to have somebody there who's for me now. I would tell a kid who's being neglected right now to hang on and to tell somebody. It'll get better, things will change, somebody's gonna help you, and if that person doesn't help you, you tell somebody else, and things will get better and things will change. And you won't always be in that situation.
Maybe you know a kid who's being abused or neglected. Maybe it's happening to you. If it is, please tell someone you trust, like your parents, your teacher, your doctor, and keep on telling until somebody helps you. People who abuse children use all kinds of tricks, even scary threats to keep kids from telling. But to get the abuser to stop, you've got to tell a grown-up who will help you. Together, we can all help stop child abuse by breaking the silence.
If you or someone you know is being abused and you can't tell an adult you trust, call the Child Help USA's hotline 24 hours a day at 1-800-422-4453.
The most important thing that kids should know when they're being sexually abused or any kind of abuse, that when they're being abused, just to keep on trying until somebody believes you and that it's not their fault.
Kids shouldn't be ashamed to talk about abuse because if they tell the right person, that person can do something about it and help them.
I'd say to adults and that they shouldn't be abusing their kids even if they were brought up like that, because things are changing now and there's a lot of other ways to discipline a kid now.
Child abuse and neglect it's like a cycle. It'll keep going until somebody stops it.
Kids have the right to say no, and they have the right to be safe.